So today we're going to carry on substituting those rational numbers into the variables and, of course, applying the order of operations as we solve those problems. So the first thing we need to do, as always, is substitute in for those variables. So the first thing we have is 4 times -9 plus 5 times 2/3 divided by -3/8 times 2/3 plus 12 squared times -3/8. Now, the first thing we want to do is any parentheses that we have. We obviously don't see any parentheses, so we're going to hold off on that. And why I say hold off on it is because don't forget, when we see operations to be done above and below a division bar, we treat them like parentheses, but because they aren't actually in parentheses, we wait to do them until we're dealing with the division. So the first thing we're going to do, of course, is the exponents. We only have one exponent right here. 12 squared means 12 times 12, which is 144. And we know that that's going to be multiplied times -3/8, but not yet. Okay, so we did those exponents, and now we do want to start dealing with the two sets of invisible parentheses, if you will. And I know that it seems like I'm doing more than one thing at a time, but I want to address this because it's a simple one. When I look at this top parenthesis here, I see that we've got 4 times -9 plus 5 times 2/3. So I'm just going to do this easy one right now, which is 4 times -9. 4 times 9 is 36, and that, of course, becomes negative, so it's -36 plus 5 times 2/3 divided by -3/8 minus 2/3. And that's, of course, added to this. So clearly I need to run this onto my next page. I'm going to have -36 plus 5, whoops, let me fix that. Plus 5 times 2/3 divided by -3/8 times 2/3 plus 144 times -3/8. So I am going to do continue on with the numerator of this division sign, this division problem, and I'm therefore going to have 5 times 2/3. I know that I can only multiply them if I've got two fractions, so that means 5 needs to become 5/1, it's improper fraction, times 2/3. Whoops, making all sorts of silly mistakes today, but it's 5 times 2/3. And I keep the top with the top and the bottom with the bottom. That means 5 times 2, which is 10, divided by 1 times 3, which is 3. And as I do this, I am now going to, over here, address this -3/8 times 2/3. Now, I should notice that the 8 and the 2 have something in common. They both are divisible by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And continuing to look across, I see this 3 and 3. Those cancel out, and these both become 1. I cannot forget about that negative sign, so I'm going to do the top with the top and the bottom with the bottom. That's -1 times 1 is -1, and 4 times 1 is 4. So I'm going to rewrite this in its entirety. So I'm going to have -36 plus 10/3 divided by -1/4 plus 144 times negative 3/8. So here we are again. The next thing I need to do is finish this. So I'm going to come over here and do my graphic organizer. I love eating apples and avocados. So I is my improper fractions. I'm going to have negative 36 over 1 plus 10 over 3. So the least common multiple of 1 and 3 is 3. I multiply, I know that one's 10 thirds stays 10 thirds. Negative 36 times 3. Well, 30 times 3 is 90. 6 times 3 is 18, so that would be 108. That's negative 108 over 3 plus 10 over 3. I ignore the denominators because they're now the same, and I've got negative 108 plus 10. The signs are different. Find the difference. So I've got negative 108. Take away 10 gives me 98. And the sign of the larger absolute value is negative. So it is negative 98. I now have my denominator and my numerator. That's negative 98 thirds as my answer. So, well, now I'm going to rewrite this again. Let me switch colors here. So I'm actually going to have negative 98 thirds divided by negative 1/4 plus 144 times negative 3/8. And now, obviously, I need to take this on to the next page. And when I take it onto the next page, I'm actually going to rewrite my division so it's a little bit easier to look at. So it's going to be negative 98 thirds divided by negative 1/4 plus 144 times negative 3/8. So I then have multiplication. I'm done with my parentheses. I'm done with my exponents. So the next thing, of course, is multiplication and division in order from left to right. So the first thing I run into is this division right here. So I know when I divide fractions, I keep the first, flip the second. Now we multiply. Keep the top with the top and the bottom with the bottom. I forgot that negative sign. So 98 times negative 4. Well, I know 100 times 4 would be 400, but 98 is 2 less than, 98 times 4 would be 400, sorry. And I've got 98 there, which is only 2 less than my 100. So 2 times 4 is 8, and therefore it would be 8 less than 400, which means that this is equal to 92 over 3 times 1, which is 3. And a negative times a negative is a positive. And then I bring this down. I've got this plus 144 times negative 3/8. I next am going to do this multiplication right here, ignoring this. So of course I need to change this to 144 over 1 times negative 3/8. I have to say to myself, is there something that goes into 144 and 8? The answer, of course, is yes, because 8 goes into both of those. So now I know that one probably would have taken a little bit of work, but it does go into both. 8 divided by 8 is 1. And just to clear it up for you here, 8 goes into 14, this 14 right here, once, with 6 left over, and 8 goes into 64 8 times. So that becomes 18. And then I keep the top with the top and the bottom with the bottom. So I've got 18 times 3, 3 times 10 is 30. 3 times 8 is 24. 30 plus 24 is my 54. My positive times negative gives me a negative 54 over 1. I rewrite the entirety of my problem, and I'm going to get 392 thirds plus negative 54. So again, I'm going to take this on to my next page. 392 thirds plus negative 54. So I now have to follow my rules. I love eating apples and avocados. The least common multiple of 3 and 1 is 3. So I already have 392 thirds plus some negative number over 3. That stays the same. This changes. 1 times 3 is 3. 54 times 3, or 3 times 50 is 150. 4 times 3 is 12, so that's negative 162. I ignore my denominators and only pay attention to the numerators while I do my regular addition or subtraction. So I'm going to have 392 plus negative 162. The signs are different. Find the difference. Okay, so 392, take away the 2, it's going to give me 390. 390 take away the 60 is going to give me 330. 330 take away the 100 gives me 230. I now have my numerator and denominator. That's 230 over 3, which of course I need to reduce. So how many times does 3 go into 230? Well, 3 goes into 23. Remember, I just look at this first. Goes into that 7 times, because 3 times 7 is 21. That means I've got 2 left over. 3 goes into 20 6 times, because 3 times 6 is 18. 18 from 20 is 2 thirds. And there's my final answer, 76 2/3.